Hello everybody, welcome to week 3 of our Global Ethics course. I hope you all are doing well. I just want to let you know that I am back in Blacksburg, so I really enjoyed my trip to Switzerland, but hopefully this will give me a little bit more time to dedicate to the course. So anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying it, and first I want to talk about a little bit about last week, just like I did in the previous video, and then I'm going to talk about what we've got coming up this week. First thing is I want to apologize for the confusion about quiz 2. That was a mistake on my part. There were 8 questions on the quiz. They're supposed to be 10 points apiece. Unfortunately, I forgot to add 10 points to one, so really the maximum that you could get on the quiz was 70 points. I know that could have been a little bit confusing because if you're checking your grades and you see a 70, you're like, wait a minute, I thought I got everything right. You may have gotten everything right and still got a 70. So apologize about the points being left off and the confusion on that, but 70 was the best you could do, so if you got 70, you got 100. Today actually is the last day, June 6th. This is the last day to drop in the course. Go check grades on the Scholar site, and if it's not up to your standards, you can either email me and we can talk about it, or just feel free to drop the course, and that's fine, and you won't have any grade penalty if you do so. Last week, we looked at sort of the basics of reading and writing philosophy, constructing philosophical arguments, just a very brief primer on logic, understanding some of the logical forms of arguments, syllogisms, conditional statements, some very common types of arguments, modus ponens, modus tollens, things like that, and then some of the fallacies that go along with those that sometimes seem like they make for a good argument, but in fact they're not grounded in logic, and therefore they're not valid in philosophy and in deductive logic. So after that, the last thing we did this past week was we had a brief case study where we were looking at essentially what is going to be the core question for the rest of the course, and that's whether there are natural human rights that are afforded to every human being based on the virtue of their being a human being. There are several different justifications that are given for that we'll see this week with Kant and Rawls, or in fact whether there are no such things as natural human rights, and rather it's all sort of a social construct that is designed essentially to help society function more properly and allow people to engage with each other without murdering each other. I thought your responses were really interesting. I think most people leaned on the side that there are natural human rights and sort of a universalist position, but there were definitely some who thought that it was more of a social construct. And then there were some who thought that it was both at the same time, which I pointed out that those two ideas actually are contradictory. If you say something is a natural human right, that means that it's something that's inherent in human beings, regardless of whether they're in any sort of society or not. And if you say something is socially constructed, what you mean by that is there doesn't exist any sort of natural property or natural rights, but rather those rights have been invented and given to people in society to allow people to function together. So I know it can be a bit confusing, but those two can't be the same, but that doesn't mean that there aren't both. It's quite possible that there could be natural human rights that exist in nature, and of course there are going to be socially constructed rights that go along with those. But we'll be talking about that essentially for the rest of the course, and we're going to be looking at each position in more detail. Once again, I was really impressed with you guys' responses. I thought the discussion was really good, so well done on that. So this week we're going to be going into the universalist camp, and we're going to be studying the idea of more that morality is something that's grounded in human nature, and that is the justification for it. And because it is grounded in human nature, it essentially applies universally to all human beings. The first person we're going to look at on this is Immanuel Kant, and he probably is the most famous defender of universal human rights. He is the sort of the founder of, you hear often of the categorical school of ethics. It's also called the deontological. Kant essentially he's the main guy in that camp. And what we're going to do is we're going to read chapter 2, at least the first part of chapter 2. I haven't decided whether it's going to be both parts yet or not, but I'm going to post it on Scholar, and whatever I post on there you guys read. But anyway, he talks about reason human rationality being the justification for why humans are entitled to these specific rights. And then he goes into his language talking about hypothetical imperatives and categorical imperatives, and I think you guys are definitely going to find that interesting. So check that out. That's going to be the reading for today, as a matter of fact, along with this video. So go, after you watch this video, go and read Kant. And then the next day there's going to be a discussion question based on the reading from Kant. Wednesday we'll be looking at Rawls, and we're going to be looking at an excerpt from Rawls' book called The Law of the Peoples, which is essentially a treatise on international politics and international law. And Rawls believes that there should be an international law, and that international law is based on a type of morality that applies to all human beings. I'm not sure how familiar any of you are with Rawls, but he wrote a very famous a piece of moral and political philosophy called The Theory of Justice, and he uses many of the same theories from the theory of justice and the law of the peoples to sort of justify his conception of international law and how it can apply to all peoples, and create essentially what he calls a realistic utopia. Realistic because it can in fact occur, in utopia because you have people that are sharing in the same values. And some of the theories that Rawls was going to refer to that I may tell you guys just briefly about here. One of them is called the original position, and the idea of the original position is essentially, do a thought experiment where you're at the beginning. You're God, you're at the beginning of society, whatever, and essentially you have to choose what you would want. But the caveat with that is you have no idea where in the social strata you're going to end up. You don't know whether you're going to be privileged, you don't know whether you're going to be poor, things like that. So Rawls argues that the construct a society is to consider yourself in this original position, and you don't know whether or not you're going to be rich, you're going to be poor, you're going to be disabled, you're going to be talented, etc. What principles would you choose? And he thinks that's the basis for creating a just society. So you're going to hear about the original position quite a bit. And another famous term that goes along with the original position is the veil of ignorance, and that's essentially what talking about when you don't know what aspect of society you're going to be in. So I think you guys are going to enjoy seeing that Rawls trying to apply the original position to international law and see, in fact, if there are universal moral principles that are going to enable us to have a more just society. And then on Thursday there'll be a discussion of that as well. I'll post that on the blog just as normal. And then Friday is our midterm exam. It's going to be 25 questions. It's going to be a combination of short answer, multiple choice, and a few short essay questions. And I'm going to post that on Scholar, so you guys can go ahead and take that. It's going to essentially cover what we've gone to up to this point. It'll be looking at Sandel's talk on justice, and some of the basic theories, some of the basic ethical theories we have in Western philosophy. It's going to be looking at a lot of the Vaughan, looking at the basics of logic and argumentation, things like that, and maybe a little bit about human rights, basic human rights. I don't think it's quite fair to give you guys a full dose of that on the midterm because we're only going to be looking at it this week. But maybe just a couple of questions, but nothing too intensive on that. And then along with that, one of the things that I want to do in this course is I want to have you guys fill out a midterm evaluation. It won't be anything too onerous. Essentially what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a survey through VT Survey, and I'm going to post the link on the blog. And I want you guys just to go in there and just be honest, tell me what's working, tell me what's not working, tell me what can be improved, etc., etc. And really that's just to make sure the rest of that you guys are getting what you need out of the course, and the course is running as smoothly as possible. So I'll be on the website this week, and I'm around in Blacksburg. And also I was going to mention that I'm hoping that we can actually get together sometime over the next couple of weeks. It's not going to be anything mandatory or anything like that, but maybe just get together and grab a cup of coffee and chat a bit. So I'll send out a message about that. Hope you guys have a great week. Good luck.